Hey everybody, guess it's been a long time coming since I've done kind of a cool animal totem video, so I wanted to dive into that today. And ever so appropriately dressed, I am wearing my entwined snake shirt that I picked up in Sedona last summer, and it was a great find. I love this shirt; it's very cool. My column, of course, is called Snake Oil, and so yeah, surprised I haven't done it yet, but now it's time for us to talk about snake as totem. Um, and talk about the good and the bad, the positives and the negatives connected with this animal totem or spirit familiar, and how to work with it accordingly. So I'm going to do a little reversal than normal. I'm going to talk about the negatives of snake first before I necessarily dive into the many positives that are connected with this. So, obviously we have a culture where, men are often referred to as snakes. So sometimes women are, she's a snake, he's a snake, meaning they'll bite you or they're bad or they're, conniving or difficult. It's generally not a positive connotation. Snakes can be noted for their ability to wound, to poison, to hurt. Although this is not always true, many snakes are not poisonous at all. I'm certainly not even inclined necessarily to wound. I know this firsthand because I kind of grew up with a brother that was like into like reptiles when I was a kid, and he had snakes and iguanas and turtles and things like that. So yeah, I know that rattlesnakes, things like that, are the more extreme example of that. But a lot of snakes, boa constrictors and gardener snakes and things like that, didn't do anything really to anybody. But there's that connotation in society as a negative. So talking about the negatives, snake brings up the idea that we can get angry and upset when people hurt us or piss us off and want to strike back like a snake. And understandably so, depending on the degree of how cruel someone was or what they did. But, we also don't want to get caught in those traps of continuing that karma. And just because we can wound, we don't have to choose that. We can choose to heal, or at the very least, step away from someone, not retaliate as well. But in some cases, we can ultimately learn to heal. So you can obviously see again the negative connotations to snake, and certainly in the Christian tradition, it was seen as a somewhat symbol of evil, the tempting of Adam and Eve, accordingly. But in the Druid tradition, snakes are often, of course, referred to as adders, and they were seen as a very kind of positive symbol because it represented transformation, healing, and life energy itself. So, there is both in Eastern symbolism and Western symbolism, you could see some interesting things. Like in Western medicine, you've probably seen this symbol on doctors' garb in the medical world. I'm going to do my best to pronounce it. It's a caduceus is this symbol. I think I got that right. And it represents the two entwined snakes, which again was connected to healing and somewhat aspects of Western medicine. In the East, there's a reference to the Kundalini energy coming up from the base chakra and moving up to the chakras as well. So, one thing obviously with the snake is there is a sort of a sexual connotation to it. Obviously, it can almost look like a phallic symbol in some ways. And although obviously snakes are female also and tend to have very large litters of smaller snakes as well. But yeah, snake is connected with sexual energy that necessitates both our birth and our death. If you look at symbolism of the eighth house in astrology or Scorpio, you'll see that represents the area where we go through power struggles, learning transformation through relationships, and learning about having power, not having power, how to use it. The snake is a great totem in getting the hang of that and doing that more effectively. Snakes are sort of known to slide through the crevices in the darkness, which is again why there's an ominous energy connected with it. But like in the Druid tradition, they would talk about snakes moving through the crevices, and the spaces get so tight that the snake's skin comes off. And so that's in a really kind of cool connotation for us as totem, that a snake as power animal or totem can show us when to shed a skin, to let go of an old part of our life that no longer fits us. Whether that be through stages in our lifetime or the ultimate, shedding of the skin when we leave our physical body. It's pretty amazing when you understand the ability that we have to do that, to make those choices about shedding old skins. And snake brings that up very beautifully Uh, Also, one of the best things about understanding snake energy in terms of how it's connected with healing is they talk like in the Druid culture about the snake rivers, or the snake, snake currents that move eventually, currents or little aspects of water that move toward the river or toward the ocean. And within that idea is that you even can look at this from a health and healing perspective, that, in the in our physical bodies, typically illness stems from clogged energy. Whether that comes from eating poor food and bad diet, or hurting ourselves physically, almost always connected, of course, with something deeper, which is emotional, energetic wounds and blocked beliefs that are lodged in the body as well, and those will always operate in some respects side by side. Sorry, AC is kicking on. It's the summer, so that's going to happen. I don't want to turn the AC off. It gets too hot. It's like 1,000,000 degrees in Arizona. Side note, if you hear a little noise there, I'm not turning it off. I'm going to continue forward. So, the snake is connected with healing. And there's certainly a lot of talk about, that snake venom can be used to heal, too, in different ways. But for us, if you look at this idea of movement of lines through the body, and also the earth itself, like again these lines that exist in the earth itself, but also within our body, that's a big part of how acupressure, acupuncture, things like that work, where you're moving energy through again. So you can kind of see the real amazing connotations to this. I always say most illness is, again, a connection of a lot of things, but a lot of it is blocked energy within the body. So getting in touch with that snake energy can ultimately bring us to an element of healing as well, as we get energy to move through more fluidly. So, lots more to understanding the snake as totem, but it can be used in a very, very positive way. I do highly recommend it. Again, focusing more on the idea that you can use your ability to wound and replace it with the power to heal. And also, again, knowing when to shed skin. So, kind of cool totem to work with, not really necessarily negative by any means, to be a snake person, to understand the power of adder. So, all right, if you like my video, give me a like and follow. You can get notifications for future videos, and here's to using our snake energy in the most positive way. Till next time, cheers.